Okay, so I'm back on to do some more chapters for the book. P.S. By the way, it's the name of the book. I believe the last time I spoke, it was chapter one and chapter two that I went over. So now I can go over chapter three. Chapter three is find the true, the real, and the dedicated. Okay, in finding the true, you want to find the true in another person, find the true in a friendship, find the true in any facet where you need true friends around you. And even in relationships, sometimes we look for certain things that may not be apparent at first. And then over time, you begin to see more and more of the true person. So when you start to see the true person, then you can then evaluate and make the decision on whether or not, okay, I think I should go forward with this, or you know what, I don't think this is right for me. I think a lot of times when we're looking for the truth in people, we tend to think that the representative, which is usually the first person that you meet whenever you meet a person for the first time, is the person that you end up meeting. And we get caught up in the representative of that person versus the true person. And finding the real, when you're looking for the real person, um, real comes in different forms. Different, they take on varying forms. They take on varying um, uh, um, essences in people's lives. So, in the event that you find the real, that encompasses that you found the true person. So when you find the true person, you begin to find the real person. And what I mean by that is that even though you may have found the true person and you caught a glimpse of something that they did or something they said, it's like, oh my gosh, this is a real person. And that goes both ways. It's not always an exciting um, uh, re, it's not always a fun discovery of another person. Sometimes you'll find a person and you go, oh, I think I see the real person. But you also have to take into account, okay, but is this the real person? So you found the true person, but have you found the real person? And it's like, okay, well, this situation may be a true situation, but is this the real person? And what? Okay, so let me bring that into full context, so there's full understanding of what it means to when you find the true person and then you find the real person. What I mean by true person is that maybe in a particular situation they'll do something that's very nice, like if you need, like, you're like, okay, um they open up the door for you and it's like, oh, that was unexpected. And that's the true person. It's like, oh, okay, well, in this particular situation, so whenever you walk up to a door, maybe they'll open it for me. So that's the true person, so to speak. But then the real person is, well, were they doing that um, to make me feel a certain way about them, like they're gentlemen, or that they're doing something to impress me? You know, you find the real person when you find out, okay, this is something they do all the time. Because I think anybody can have a true moment where it's like, oh wow, this is really awesome. Like they do this, they do. But again, keep in mind that could be that could be a representative and not the actual real person. I think people can have a lot of true moments, but you then have to realize, okay, but is this the real person? Is this the authentic person that I'm dealing with, or is this just a representative showing off these wonderful true moments of that person? And you begin to think that, okay, this person has to be the right person for me, until you realize, no, this is the person giving off truths. They can be a nice person. They can be a considerate person. Those are truths. But, and I talk about this a lot more further along in the chapter, when you get these wonderful moments with the person, but that's not really who they are. They just have true moments. but the real kind of comes out, and that one time the person opened up the car door for you, or the one time they pulled your chair out when you had to sit down, or when you needed to leave the table and they stood up, or escorted you somewhere, and it came across very authentic, like, because it almost was effortless. But you also got to keep in mind with the truth, or the truth, you have to keep in mind that usually when the first time you meet someone, that's probably their representative, right? And then when you find the real, it's like, oh, this is something they do all the time. Now, I'm not saying people can't change along the way, and this is to include women as well, is that over time things may change. You may find that one woman who wants to cook for you all the time. You know, when you first meet them, they have like home cooked meals like every day of the week. They're just ready to cook, and then you get further invested into that person. And for me, although I love to cook, sometimes I like to go out. So if I take this person out, will they always expect me to take them out, or will they always expect me to make a home cooked meal? So in the retrospect of it all, and you think about it and you put it into context of, you meet this wonderful woman who comes into your life and does these things on a regular, and you think that's the real them, and it's actually more or less the true them. um and it's a true moment. And you then, as time goes on, you say, well, hey, let's go out, and you notice over time that you start going more and more every week. It's, you go out that one time, and then one time turns into two times turns into three times, and you begin like, okay, well, we've been out 5 times this week, and you haven't cooked not one time this week. So it's more or less understanding, and I'm only using that as an example because that's, everybody doesn't like to cook, and everybody can't cook. Yeah. But you begin to find the true person, and you begin to find the real person, and who they really are, which leads me into the dedicated. The dedicated in this particular situation is the person who really authentically has shown that they're the real person, and over time they continue to be that same person, and they have now become dedicated to being the person that you think that they are. And dedicated doesn't only mean just being dedicated to whom they are, but also being dedicated to you as the person that they have taken on as their love interest, as their lover, as their provider, as their whatever. Being dedicated to someone and also being dedicated to yourself sometimes means that there are different things about you that has to change. And I don't mean that in the way where you have to change a person, because my thing is this, is that if you found someone and they're doing the things that they perpetuate to be doing, then that should be enough to make you go, oh, so this really is who this person is. If you're okay with the person to whom you're with, then there shouldn't be any issues as to, well, I kind of thought he was going to change that up just a little. You also have to understand that when you're taking on a person and you're becoming invested and involved with a new person, that sometimes that means that things about you will have to change. Things about the person may have to change. Now, if you're comfortable and you're okay with the person that you're with, and you've chosen to be dedicated to that person as that person has now become dedicated to you, in that instance, you all are now making a merge to be dedicated to each other, and which is an amazing thing. But you have to be able to understand that the person that you're dealing with is showing you the truth, the real, and the dedicated. That's chapter 3.